All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, unfortunately, HorseMD, Marcelo De Angelis, the Brazilian classic physique superstar that was supposed to be taking the stage at the end of this month, actually, at the Expo Pro Super Show, where he would be attempting to win and qualify for the 2022 Mr. Olympia in the classic physique category. Now, there's been a lot of talk about him because really, as soon as he hit the scene and earned his pro card, he was a very aesthetic bodybuilder. In fact, he earned his pro card in bodybuilding, but then chose to make the switch to classic physique after he earned that pro card. But unfortunately, today he posted on his story that he was hospitalized. In the translation, obviously it was in Portuguese, but he lost 9 kilos during the time that he's been sick. He's got some kind of virus. He didn't say specifically what that was. He says that he hasn't been able to eat and he's been very dehydrated. And again, he was supposed to take the stage, I believe it was the 25th of June, so like a week and a half away. And first and foremost, obviously, we hope that he recovers and gets better, but it's looking like at this point there is a chance that we might not see what we've been waiting for, because I think there's been a lot of classic physique fans that were waiting to see his pro debut at this show, see how he would do, see how he would stack up against other pros, see if he would be able to qualify for the Olympia, and then that would be the conversation going forward, is now that he's won a show, how's he going to place in the ranks of the top classic physique Olympians? And again, hopefully he recovers, but I would say at this point, it's kind of looking like we might not see him on stage this month. 9 kilos is a lot. I mean, it's literally almost 20 pounds. It's not good, so I'm assuming he's probably not where he wants to be in terms of his prep for this show, but I'll keep you guys posted as we find out more. Now, next up in the news, we've got a hell of a weekend coming up. 2 bodybuilding shows this weekend, 2 Olympia qualifiers. You've got the MonsterZym Pro Show. That's the show in Korea. And you've also got the show that we've been talking a little bit more about than that MonsterZym Pro, and that would be Tim Gardner's Puerto Rico Pro. Now, we do have the competitor list for both shows, so I'm going to go ahead and give those to you guys because, again, it's not every weekend that we have 2 men's open bodybuilding Olympia qualifying shows, and that could explain the lack of depth in each lineup. The fact that one of the shows is in Korea, for one, and the other show is in Puerto Rico. It's a long way to travel for a pro show, especially when there's 2 on the same day or same weekend. But let's start with Puerto Rico here. So one of the names that was added to this list, we knew most of the list, but Max Charles is apparently doing this show, and that was pretty much the only name here that looks like a big threat that I wasn't expecting to be in it. So Max is doing it. Mark Arthur Daughtry is doing it. Jonas Giatris, Theo LaGuerrier, Hassan Mustafa, and Andrea Muzi. So Theo, Hassan, and Andrea, like the 3 guys that we've been talking about for a while. We knew they were doing the show. They all look pretty good. Max Charles jumping in this lineup, that could definitely shake things up. If he could improve a little bit, come in a little bit sharper, a little bit tighter, I could see him taking one of those top 3 spots for sure. Now, he did slip drastically the last time we saw him on stage, but he's definitely a guy that could find himself right in the top. Now, we haven't seen any recent updates from Hassan, but we did get an update today from Andrea Muzi now that he's landed in Puerto Rico. So this was apparently after 18 hours of traveling to Puerto Rico. This is how he's looking, these 2 front lat spread shots. And in this lighting and in these pictures, he does look pretty good. He looks pretty grainy. His conditioning looks to be solid. He did post a picture a couple days ago where I thought he looked a little bit off. So I guess we're going to see how that actually translates to the stage, but this is the latest update we have from him. Again, nothing from Hassan, and I looked over at Theo LaGuerrier's page, and there was nothing over there more recent as well. So Andrea Muzi, really the only guy in this lineup that we have a recent update from, attempting to improve upon the placings that he's had over the past couple of weeks. Now, the other lineup that we've got here, and this is interesting for a number of reasons. So this MonsterZym Pro in Korea, the main thing that I'm excited to see here is that competitor number 2, Sibusiso Catello. As you guys might remember, Sibusiso tried to compete in the Arnold Classic South America, the Arnold Classic Brazil, a few weeks ago. Maybe it was a month ago now. Actually, time flies. That might have been over a month ago now. But he actually traveled to Brazil. He went all the way there to compete, prep for that show, and he was actually disqualified because he was late to the prejudging portion of the show. Now, they did let him pose at the finals, but it was not scored. He was not judged, and he was not allowed to compete because of that disqualification for being late, which he attributes to a language barrier and it being difficult for him to understand the timing of things and when and where to be. I guess that was really the root of it. But even though we didn't get to see him actually compete, we did get to see him pose, and a lot of people that saw him pose made the argument that he could have won the entire show. As you guys know, Rafael Brandao won that show. In my opinion, he won it pretty easily. But Sibusiso, he brings something different to the stage. He brings a pretty good amount of size. I think he weighs around 300 pounds in close to contest condition. But as you guys can see in this posing video, extremely aesthetic bodybuilder for a guy that carries that amount of size. And even in this posing video, he might not have been fully prepared for the show or fully prepared for posing. This might not have even been his top condition because he didn't know if he was going to compete. He didn't know if he would even be allowed to pose. So imagine him looking even sharper and better than this at the Korea show. So here's the lineup for Korea. Muhammad Al-Nsor, Al-Nsor, Sibusiso Katello, Jiho Lee, Sungcho Lee, who will probably be Sibusiso's biggest competition here, Diego Nunez, Juan Shin, and Jang Sung Yang. So those are really the two things to be paying attention to this weekend. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this plays out. I'm really looking forward to seeing hopefully Sibusiso is able to get some redemption here. I'd really like to see him on the Olympia stage. Maybe he can earn the qualification here, but I guess only time will tell, and we'll have to stay tuned to find out. Also, as of right now, I don't think there's a live stream for Puerto Rico, but I do think there is one for the MonsterZym Pro in Korea. Now, next up in the news, an unusual post from Brandon Curry on his Instagram story yesterday. He said, history books don't mention who wasn't there. History books only remember who showed up. Now, a lot of people sent me this story because typically Brandon Curry is a pretty reserved guy. He's relatively quiet. He doesn't really call anybody out. He doesn't really have beef with any of the other bodybuilders. You don't really see his rivalries get very heated, but a lot of people thought that this was a direct shot at his main rival, Big Ramy. Of course, Ramy and Brandon have been going back and forth the past couple of years. Brandon, I think, has pushed Ramy the hardest out of anybody in that lineup, aside from possibly Hadi Chupin. But as you guys know, Big Ramy was scheduled to appear at the Pittsburgh Pro guest posing in May. Brandon showed up. Ramy didn't. Brandon did speak on it afterwards, and I believe he said something to the effect of, it's not a good look to not show up for these things. So he's spoken on this before. So people were asking me, do you think this is about Phil? Do you think this is about Ramy? Who do you think this is about? My bet would be it was directed at Ramy. I don't think it's about Phil. I know that Brandon and Phil had their own little bit of a rivalry, but honestly, I think if it's directed at anybody in particular, I think it's definitely Ramy, right? But I guess this is an interesting opportunity for you guys to let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. A, who do you think it was directed at? B, if it was directed at Ramy, do you think there's a chance that Brandon beats Ramy this year? Do you think there's a factor of potentially a political influence swaying the judges from giving the title back to Big Ramy and giving it to Brandon? Or do you think simply on merit of physique alone, Brandon can beat Ramy? And the final story that I've got for you guys today, Vlad Suharuchko, 3.5 weeks out from the Mr. Big Evolution Portugal Pro, posting these pictures in the magic mirror. Now, this is another young up-and-coming bodybuilder that I think has been really impressive so far from what we've seen from him. He's in his early 20s. I believe he's 24 or 25. He's like very young. Crazy amount of size. His conditioning looks crazy. Of course, this is the magic mirror. He was a training partner of Rolly Winkler's for a little while, and it looks like he learned Rolly Winkler's trademark pose in that mirror. This is like the exact same way that Rolly would hit that most muscular pretty much every year prior to the Olympia. But I think Vlad looks super dangerous, and I'm kind of excited to see if he's going to be a guy that could qualify for the Olympia and jump in there and mix it up with these other younger guys, like Nick Walker, like Hunter Labrada, Ian Valliere. He's even younger than them, but I think it would be interesting to see him on stage next to them. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. That's going to wrap it up for today's video, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you guys give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Like the video, subscribe if you have not subscribed already, and as always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.